Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Reverend Ravenwolf. And Reverend Ravenwolf has this question: can divination become an addiction? And if so, how do we best counsel people to avoid this pitfall? And my answer to this begins by saying that I think that the term addiction is wildly overused, and I don't know that it would be my term of choice for the phenomenon that is being asked about. Having said that, I think that certainly there are people who overuse or misuse divination in a number of ways. And most commonly, these people are using divination to distance themselves from actually living their lives. Often it will be an excuse for not doing things, it's a way to distance themselves from their emotions, and in these ways it's not a particularly positive thing. However, it is worth saying that everyone is at a different point in their journey, and sometimes one needs to hold life at arm's length if it's being overwhelming. So I don't know that we should necessarily condemn this, but it certainly isn't the best use of divination. Now, having said that, at what point do we decide that someone's overusing it? And is it even our business to decide? And my answer to that second question is that unless we're directly involved, it's not our business. But if we are directly involved, it's a difficult point to call because it may be serving a role in their life that can be important, even if it isn't the role we think it should be fulfilling. And again, I would say that sometimes some people, if they're feeling overwhelmed, do need to hold their life at arm's length for a while. And I've seen people use an over-reliance on divination as a way of doing this. On the other hand, merely doing a lot of divination is in no way a bad thing. Many perfectly reasonable practitioners will do daily divination for themselves, choosing, for example, one or more tarot cards in the morning when they get up, or drawing a rune in the morning to help them to get focus for their day. And nobody would think of this as being addiction. It's a fairly common practice, and nothing in the world wrong with it. And, for example, talking daily to your spirit guides, although not quite the same as divination, is basically a related idea. You're getting guidance from them, and doing that on a daily basis is in no way a bad thing. I think that over-reliance on divination becomes a bad thing when it impedes you rather than helps you. But in a lot of ways, only the person can really determine if they're being helped or impeded. And I think that if you feel that you know someone who is being impeded by an over-reliance on divination, certainly you should offer them your opinion, but it ultimately must be their decision because it's their journey. So those would be my thoughts on that. Basically, yes, I would say that in the sense that it's being asked, although I don't really like the term, sometimes divination can be an addiction, but it's a hard question to call. Now, we've come to the end of another week of vlogs. I want to thank you for joining me for this week's vlogs, and it's time to choose the viewer's favorite question. And this week we have these questions to vote upon. On Tuesday we had Baby Talk from Magenta. On Wednesday we had World Walkers from Sweet Strong Woman. On Thursday we had Losing Place from Polidori Necropunk. And today we have Addiction from Reverend Ravenwolf. Please let me know which is your favorite. You can vote in the comments section at Magic TV, on Facebook pages where the vlog appears, or by email to me, Reverend Don Lewis at donlewishp@aol.com. Thank you again for joining me for this week's vlogs, and until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you for Pagans Tonight Radio. Pagans Tonight Radio is an online radio network with different hosts and different shows 7 nights a week. There's something for every taste, including Spanish language programming on Saturday evening. Check out paganstonight.com today.